The Losers Club is a group of 7 11-year-old misfit children who are united by their unhappy lives. They share the same misery and torment from being the victims of a gang of local bullies led by the increasingly sociopathic Henry Bowers and band together as they struggle to overcome it. The 7 children find themselves caught up in a nefarious situation, which they cannot quite comprehend but against which they must fight. William, Bill, Denborough. Bill is the leader and most self-assured member of the Losers Club as well as the main protagonist of the story. Feeling responsible for Georgie's death, he seeks revenge on the monster. His parents have become cold and withdrawn towards him after the loss of their youngest son, and he secretly hopes the death of the murderer will awaken his parents to his presence again. He has a severe stutter, which has earned him the nickname, Stuttering Bill. His mother attributes the stutter to a car accident that occurred when he was 3 years old. But his stutter is implied to be psychosomatic rather than physical. It worsens considerably after Georgie's death, and fades during his teenage years entirely, returning suddenly when Bill returns to Derry in 1985. He is the most determined and resourceful of the losers, although his leadership among them is unofficial. It is Bill who eventually destroys it, engaging it in the ritual of Chud in both 1958 and 1985, and eventually killing its physical form by ripping its heart out. As an adult, he becomes a successful writer and marries film star Audra Phillips, who bears a strong resemblance to Beverly. Benjamin, Ben, Hanscom, known as Haystack, to his friends. Ben is a highly intelligent boy who, before joining the Losers Club, often spent his free time reading books at the public library. Due to childhood obesity, he was the favorite victim of Henry Bowers, but later sheds the weight as an adult. His mechanical skills prove useful to the losers, from making 2 silver slugs to building an underground clubhouse, and later contribute to his success as an internationally renowned architect. He develops a crush on Beverly Marsh as a child and the two leave Derry together after the 1985 defeat of it. Beverly, Bev, Marsh. Beverly is an attractive and tomboyish redhead on whom each of the boys has a secret crush at some point during the story. She is the only girl in the group and comes from the poorest part of Derry. During her childhood, she is frequently abused by her father, Alvin, while her mother, Elfrida, is out working. As an adult, she becomes a successful fashion designer in Chicago, but endures several abusive relationships, culminating in her marriage to Tom Rogan, who sees her as an object of sex and frequently beats her. Following the destruction of it, she leaves Derry with Ben, Richie, Tozier, known as Trashmouth. Richie is the losers' self-appointed comic relief, always cracking jokes and doing impersonations or voices, which prove to be a very powerful weapon against it. He is too intelligent for his own good, which frequently leads to trouble. He is the most devoted to keeping the group together, as he sees 7 as a magical number and believes the group should have no more, no less. In adulthood, he is a successful disc jockey in Los Angeles. As the DJ, he uses his once annoying and unrealistic voices as one of his main attractions. He is extremely nearsighted and wears thick glasses as a child, but changes to contact lenses as an adult. He loses his contact lenses in an encounter with it and is forced to return to his glasses. One of several ways the losers return to their childhood, although it is unclear if he was the basis of the character's name and occupation. Maine Public Radio has a music program hosted by a Rich Tozier, Edward, Eddie, Casbrack, Eddie is a frail and asthmatic hypochondriac who carries his inhaler with him everywhere. His father died when he was very young, and his mother is domineering and constantly worries about his health. Later in the story, it is revealed that Eddie's asthma is psychosomatic. The pharmacist has been giving him water instead of medicine in his inhaler. The root of Eddie's problems is his mother, who has Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Her constant worrying about his health has been a way to manipulate him into caring for her. When Henry and his friends break his arm, his mother tries to prevent the losers from visiting Eddie in the hospital, and he finally stands up to her, telling her he is not as helpless as she thinks. As an adult, he runs a successful limousine business in New York City and is married to Myra, who is very similar to his mother. In his return to Derry as an adult, he also finds the strength to defend himself from Henry Bowers, killing him with a broken bottle. In the altercation, he re-breaks his arm in the same spot as he did as a child. When facing it in the sewers, his arm is bitten off and he bleeds to death, ultimately dying in his friend's arms. Mike Hanlon. Mike is the last to join the losers. He is the only African American in the group and lives with his parents on a large farm. He goes to a different school from the other kids due to his Baptist faith. Mike is racially persecuted by Henry Bowers, whose father holds a long-standing grudge against Mike's father. Mike meets the losers when they help him fight back against Bowers in a massive rock fight. His father kept an album filled with photos that were important to Derry's history, including several of Pennywise the Dancing Clown. He is the only one of the losers to stay behind in Derry, and thus the only one to retain his memory of the events of 1958, and becomes the town librarian. He researches Derry's history and is the one who beckons the others back when the killings begin again in 1985. Though he survives, Mike is seriously wounded by Henry and is unable to join the remaining losers. Bill, Ben, Bev, Eddie, and Richie. In the final battle against it, he later recovers from his wounds but, like the others, starts to lose his memory of the experience. It was later revealed in Insomnia that Mike continued as a librarian and was the boss of one of that book's primary characters in 1993. Quote, Stan, Uries. Stan is the most skeptical member of the club. He is Jewish and is persecuted by Henry Bowers for this reason. Logic, order, and cleanliness are deeply ingrained in his psyche. He relies on logic more than anything else and is the least willing to accept that it actually exists. As an adult, he becomes a partner in a large Atlanta-based accounting firm and marries Patty Blum, a teacher. Upon receiving Mike's phone call in 1985, he commits suicide by slitting his wrists in the bathtub and writing, "IT," in his blood on the wall. It is heavily implied that Stan was the only one aware that it was not only female but was also pregnant. Hence he chose death over returning to Derry to face the ancient terror, despite being the one to slice the losers' palms in a blood oath. It is also implied in the book that Stan remembers more about the children's encounters with it than the others do, sometimes commenting on the turtle and other events from his time in Derry, though he claims that he doesn't remember what those phrases mean. It can be inferred throughout the story that he was psychic to a mild degree, accurately predicting which job his wife should apply for, a higher sensitivity to its activities, frequent references from the other losers to his ordered mind. Besides blaming it for Georgie's death, Bill also blames it for Stan's death.